Alright guys, so just a bit of an overview of the inverted north-south position. So Tim's here. I want to have my head free like this. So on the same side that his arm's trapped, I want my head next to that. Okay. What I don't want to do is end up here. This is very hard to maintain and easy for Tim to bridge or escape his head. Okay, so I'm always, whenever we roll through, we're always aiming to have our head on the same side as the arm. My main things that I'm wanting to get, obviously the anaconda. Okay, so if you get a chance to catch the arm and lock up the anaconda, this is our main finish we want from here. But we're also going to have options to go back to the mounted guillotine from here, and potentially we can start coming up and looking to go through for the Das choke if we find that if they're defending quite well. Okay, so Tim's generally wanting to try to roll out of this position, to try to get on top, like this, or even just to force it back to like a front headlock position. So he starts to roll, and we end up just back to here, and he wants to maybe try to defend from there. So it's generally in my favor if I can stop Tim rolling. So one of the important concepts from here is really to, once you're here, try to keep them from being able to roll on top. One of the setups I use to get towards the front headlock guillotine position is that I often will dive for it, especially if someone's playing more of an open guard like a De La Riva or so. You can even go for it while they're holding on to your leg, as long as they're not blocking you. Okay, so if they've got a foot in front of you, that's going to stop me from jumping over. But if I can start to threaten a little bit, I usually like to just start pushing this leg across. Okay, so if I make it look like I'm trying to smash the legs, and then as he starts to resist that, I'm coming forward and catching, and I want to reach over the top of the arm and pull this tight against my chest as I'm rolling. At the same time, I'm gripping the chin. Okay, so the aim is when I land, when Tim tries to get on top, it's going to be difficult for him to bridge out of that. Okay, these grips are holding me in place. So again, we'll be here. I got to push the leg across, and that's just going to give you. If their head's off the mat, this is a good time to go for it. You don't go for it if their head's flat. Okay, so if he's down here, that's different. But when he's sitting up, which they usually will, we're coming over with this, and this hand just reaching over as well, trying to get his bicep here, attached to my chest. Caught that, and we're tight through here. I'm in the inverted north-south position, ready to start setting up my finish. Do we need a few angles of that?
You can do around, maybe facing this way as well.
Yeah. That'll look cool.
Do you need any different reaction from me, or that's fine?
We're gonna end up, let's go back a bit. Just because we'll end up closer. Just tell me when.
Yep.
Yeah. Look extra cool because I stare at the camera. So just a quick review of some other entries we can use to get to the inverted north-south position. Obviously check these particular position sections on the DVD to get more detail on this, but we can go from front headlock where we end up rolling underneath like this, chucking the outside arm, or we can end up coming to here, stepping through, and bridging through to here. We can go from on top of half guard, so with Tim's on his back, and we're here. Whether he goes for the underhook or whether I dive for it, when I catch the guillotine, I can be looking to free my legs and end up in the inverted north-south from here. I can go from guard. Whenever Tim tries to roll away from the guillotine like this, if I miss catching his back, we can end up rolling through towards the inverted north-south here. Or maybe he's defending well from me finishing the guillotine. Maybe his hands are holding my hands, and I want to bring him over the top from here to end up here as well. All right, we're going to go over finishing the anaconda and some details, specific details on that. First, almost any time I want to change my hands, I will almost always use my leg to block his arm here. Okay, so Tim's going to be fighting my hands, and he's going to be trying to remove my grip. So right now I've started actually just with a chin strap and the arm. And my aim right now is actually like I'm pulling this arm to stop Tim from being able to roll. Okay, so this stops him turning away, and the chin strap stops Tim from turning on top. So you can see both my elbows are actually pulled quite tight here like this. If I'm really loose with these grips, he's going to roll on top and I lose the whole position altogether. So I need to actually just be keeping him in place for now. And my aim is to connect my hands. But if Tim's fighting my hands here like this, maybe use this hand as well for this scenario. Yeah, he's fighting my hands, trying to get rid of my arms. If you let go and try to connect, you're actually just going to lose the whole thing. He's got a pretty good chance at removing my arms. So I need to use my leg to start taking his arms out of the grip fight game. All right, so Tim's trying to connect here and trying to deal with my arms. My outside leg's going to come up and it's going to catch. It's going to catch above below the line of the elbow here. And you see he's holding my grip here. But when I get this, I can bring my legs across, and that's going to actually take his hand out of the game. He can't use this hand to grip fight now. Okay, he can still use this one, but now it's two hands against one. I can actually start to like fight that and adjust my grip. So almost any time that I need to make a grip exchange, I want to control this arm with my legs if I can. So again, we're here. Often to get this leg in, I have to swing quite wide. I often have to swing all the way out this way, bring my knee towards my chest, and then cut across with it like that. Okay? I was pointing at my leg then, but I would always keep my hands attached during this process. So we're here, we catch, and then I can start changing my grip. All right. The safest grip exchange is going to be this. So first of all, we're starting obviously from a bad position, not a bad position, but I don't even have my hands locked together yet. We're going across. I'm going to try to catch, and then I'm going to try and use my elbow to keep his arm there. Okay? He knows now that I want to be trapping that arm with my leg. So if I just change to here and he opens that arm again, he might make it really hard for me to catch this arm. He might put it like here, so it's hard to catch the arm with the leg again. Now, it's really difficult to do that, okay? So when we had the arm controlled and I catch it, I want to change my grips. So this one's palm up, and my outside arm, the one that's not the choking arm, or my forearm locked tight to my body with my elbow here. So open your arm out now, Tim. This gives me a bit of time, yeah? So now if I want, I can readjust and really make sure my left leg's caught nice and tight. Now you'll see I've adjusted my hands a bit from being at the chin. When I connect them, I just pull it through a little bit. Okay, this is going to help me with the finish. Right now my forearm's right across Tim's neck, but you can actually go too far with that too. What I want is my hand poking free, and then because my forearm's across the neck, my outside arm, I keep my hands really close, is going to reach through, grip onto my bicep, and then come back and grip onto the outside of the ribs. Okay, if it's floating here, he can start to like fight that and peel my hand off. So as soon as I can, I want to reach it to here. Very hard for Tim to remove that hand. It's like I've got a handle on the side of his ribs. Okay, and this is going to choke. Okay. So again, we're here, swinging the leg nice and wide if you have to, catching the elbow, pulling across, and then connecting your hands here like this, right? Elbow is going to go tight, preferably with this grip. It can be with an S grip as well. Elbow nice and tight, like that. Leg again in, and you can make any adjustment you need so that you can reach through grip and start to finish from there. All right, we're going to go through troubleshooting the finish on this, making sure we're able to finish the choke. So sometimes you might feel like you're even getting your hands connected, but then you're not actually finishing the choke how you want. So let's go through some reasons why that could be. So I've managed to, let's say I've got the arm across, and I've locked up to here, and then I'm going to finish. First of all, we want to make sure our hands are actually going to connect. Okay, so if my hand's too shallow, if I've got it where the chin strap was, and I try and reach to that, you're probably going to miss your hand. Okay, and he's going to peel that off very easily. So when we've trapped the arm, we want to connect our hands and move through a little bit so that our forearm is now in front of the neck here like this. Okay, and then I can lock this off nice and good. Now you'll see, see how Tim's head's sort of like sitting on my chest here a little bit. This means when I row back with my elbow, it's going to pull straight into his neck and be a choke. I've seen this often where I think people let the head go down towards the ground like this, and they lock up here. Okay, this is going to crank Tim's neck. So if you come, if we look at this angle, maybe we move this way a bit, Tim, but now when I pull in, it's really gonna like twist his head sideways. My forearm's not on the front of his neck anymore, okay? So when I've let his head drop down like that, when this is the case and you're more on the side of the neck, I want to turn Tim away. It's kind of hard for me to turn him away, right? But watch this. We go back, we get our leg over the top, and that's going to roll his neck into the choke. Okay? So if you find that you're a bit on the side, use your leg and try to roll them into it. Now my forearm's back in front of his neck. I can get his head back in the front of my chest, and we're back to doing a choke. Conversely, sometimes people end up going too far. So I only want to reach so far as that my hand is available. If I go too far and it's like here, I'll actually be, the part I'm trying to choke with, which is my forearm, is no longer connected. It's more like my elbow facing his, the middle of my elbow facing his neck. So when I lock that up and row, I'm not taking away much of the space, okay? So I could sit here and it's not going to really choke Tim. If that's the case, I would actually go back to locking my hands. Sometimes this happens because sometimes they'll even pull your arm through a little bit. I go back to locking my hands here, and I would start to like hip out and drop my elbow a little bit. It has to loosen a little bit to actually be able to move. So if I'm squeezing too tight, hard to adjust that. I have to loosen my hands a little, adjust my elbow back down a little bit so it's close to my hips, and then I reach through again here, and we should be back in, ready to actually finish the choke from there. All right, so we're gonna go through how to deal with or finish the choke if whether they've got wider or more narrow shoulders. Tim was telling me that I've already been showing you how to do this on really broad-shouldered people, but if they've got really narrow shoulders, so let's just say Tim's like really closed that space off here, his shoulder's close to his head here. Sometimes with your grip, you're going to reach almost more towards the top of your shoulder, here like this, okay? So I go to my bicep here, I actually leave, if you can see there's a bit of space in that triangle, and it'll be a little easier for him to defend there, right? So if he's got narrow shoulders, I'm going to be reaching a little more, or if you've got really long arms, you might be reaching a little more up towards the top of your shoulder here, okay? So now you see the space is gone, and we can lock that off nice and tight. To simulate Tim having big shoulders, we'll have him flare his elbow out, right? So let's say his elbow's flared, and sometimes even if they don't have broad shoulders, but they've flared their elbow a little bit when you happen to go for this, it can be the same scenario. You go to lock off, and you're not even gonna get your bicep here, okay? Sometimes you have to grip your forearm. This is not as good, okay? So it's not as strong of a grip, but sometimes you just have to do it if they've got that wide of a forearm. You can grip the top of your forearm, but you have to be like all the way over the top, and we can pull back from there, okay? So Tim's still gonna feel this choke him, even though we're not quite on the bicep. Definitely preferable to get this, but this is our secondary option if we weren't able to connect our hands, all right? All right, so sometimes you're gonna go for to lock your grip and you'll miss, okay? So you go to lock the anaconda grip and you'll miss. It's gonna make it much easier if you have trapped the arm, but even when you've got that, sometimes this will be the case where you've gone here and you go to connect it, but then he manages to like flare and you've missed the grip, okay? Now, here, if this is the case, I'm in a lot of danger here of him escaping, okay? Because if Tim, from this position, I've got no real good control of him. I need to go back to our control positions here. So if I cannot lock this off, I'm either going back to connecting my hands, but even probably a more high percentage thing here, because as I go to connect my hands, he's already going to be moving and trying to keep my hands from connecting. I'm more likely actually to just go back to pulling this elbow and going back to the chin strap from here. Okay, I want to stop him rolling on top. This is like a reset position that I can then start trying to trap the arm again and reset back to getting a good grip, okay? Ideal would be you go to catch it, you miss, but you keep your elbow there and you can slide your forearm back and connect your hands. But again, if he's defending that well, we have to go back to here. All right. Another common thing, as Tim was just starting to do there, he's defending the choking hand here like this. So this one's around my hand that I wanted to choke with. This is a very common theme throughout this DVD series, but now I want to start bringing my left hand through and thinking about the Das choke. Okay, so if I want to do the Das choke, I'm going to try and keep his shoulder and his head really close together. So I've got good space to reach my hand through. He's fought that hand, so I'm going to start coming through with my left hand. And I want to get pretty quickly, I want to get this deep enough that he can't peel that off. All right, now it's difficult to peel this left hand free. If it's stuck here in front of his neck, he's going to get that off. Okay, so I'm pulling tight with my right hand and getting my left hand all the way through. All right, now I want to keep that space narrow. So I want to get up on top. I want to put pressure on that shoulder. So see this gap here will be narrow. So I'm going to put my chest over the back of the tricep to pull down. Keep that space narrow so I can lock up my Das on the far side. So when we're here, he's peeled this hand off. I'm coming through like this, as deep as I can there. Pulling tight now. And then my chest, as I bridge up, is going to come over the top of the elbow and sprawl back. Okay. Come around this side. Have a watch of my right arm. I'm going to keep it behind the head because I can't let him extend his head to get out. So as I'm getting up, my right hand's at the back of the head. Try and arch your head back, Tim. I've blocked that, okay? Because then I can start to come through to here. If I get up like this, he pulls his head back, okay? And then I'm chasing and I'm going to lose the position. So while he's pulled on this arm, it has to stay tight behind the head. And it's rowing back so we can connect here into the Das choke. And then I'm pressuring a little bit more this way so he can't roll flat on his back and we can get the finish. Or I'm here. So one thing Tim's going to want to try to do from here is to roll on top. We covered this a bit earlier, but I'm really wanting to have pressure pulling the arm right across my chest. This is a nice big lever now to stop him turning away from me to get up. And I also want to stop him turning the other way as well. Yeah, so that's how I try to stop him from rolling on top. When you've got the anaconda grip, it's the same thing. I don't want him to roll on top. So when I've got this actually locked in, if I feel him going there, I'm going to be pulling back a little bit with my hands in this direction. And if he tries to roll the other way to get on top, I'm pulling back with my elbow here like this. Obviously, I'm trying to finish the choke as well, but I don't want to end up back in the north-south position here. It's actually hard to finish the anaconda from the front headlock position. It's hard to finish the anaconda from there. So let's now assume Tim does manage to get up into the front headlock position. So I find this hard to finish, and if he's balanced well, so here, because he's up a bit, he can tend to flare his elbow out a bit more. Come up on your right hand, Tim, and put it out wide. Yeah. And I find this really hard. Are you choking there?
No.
No, he's fine. He's not getting choked. Hard to roll him because I'm not controlling that elbow. Yeah, so if we looked at the roll we did before with the anaconda, like I wanted to take that arm out. Yeah. Now he's got no base and I can roll. But when I've got my anaconda locked here and I try to roll Tim, very difficult to do. So actually usually as soon as they get back up to their knees, I switch straight to the arm end guillotine. I've got a pretty good position for that. So his hand's gone wide, he's got good base. connect my hands here, and then I'm looking to switch around, swing the leg over the top, and finish from here. So we look at that as a sequence. I've got the anaconda. Tim rolls up. I wasn't able to stop him. I connect my hand, move to the side, and we sit in for the guillotine. If he rolls through again, cool. We're back to our position where we can try and finish the anaconda. But really try not to let them roll on top of this. And roll away. Sometimes you'll feel like here I'm a little bit too side on, like I don't have good control of Tim's ability to bridge. And sometimes he'll actually bridge up on his head and step over to this side. This is really, now I'm on like my bad side guillotine, if that makes sense. So if we go back, when that's a possibility, I want to pull his head in nice and tight and make sure my elbows are tight to my as tight as I can to my ribs. So I'm making this space narrow, but I'm actually wanting a lot of tension just on the side of his neck here. So as Tim bridges up, here like this, once he gets on top, I'm right underneath this elbow, okay, which is his balance. Okay, this elbow's got his balance, and because my elbow's locked to my ribs, I should be able to spin under, bridge back, and get him back here. Okay, so Tim bridges up on top, and I'm gonna turn, and I'm gonna bridge him back myself. Okay, so this is often the case when I'm a little bit too side on, like I'm not really facing upwards like I wanted to before. I want him to be here. I got caught here. Tim's able to bridge up on top. I'm gonna curl in, bridge him back, and adjust my position a bit. And now I'm in a much better position to set up the choke. All right, so we're always trying to trap this arm if we can with our legs, but Tim might get really wise to that, and then he's gonna put it right on the outside of my ribs here like this. So when I try and trap the arm now, even if I'm really flexible with my leg, there's just no way I'm gonna disconnect this hand from this side of my body around. Okay, so that's a really good strategy for Tim to use. Now though, if you think about this, he's not defending his neck with that arm. Okay, so he has to make the choice to defend that neck or not. So all I do here, I'm just gonna roll through to our mounted guillotine. I get my guillotine, so I get this hand, my hand's in position like I'm gonna guillotine. So we come high, and I'm already getting this squeeze, guys. Remember, this is really important for the guillotine to get your grips tight first before you go for the guillotine. So if you see here, I'm trying to get his head nice and high underneath my armpit. So just watch this. I pull his head in a little bit, and then I've locked my elbow tight with my hands rolling in this direction. So imagine the side your thumb's on, that part of your forearm is already starting to dig into the neck. So Tim might feel like he's choking a little here. It's not going to finish here. There's no way you're going to finish the guillotine here, especially if he's fighting the grips a little bit. Yeah. So Tim, how much is that choking you?
It's uncomfortable, but not
Uncomfortable, but not choking, right? So because his hand's wide, there's nothing blocking my hips here, and he's not able to use that arm to defend. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to swing my hips up, and I'm going to look my head away like this. I'm going to bring my hips up, and then try and get nice and high with my hips. From here, I should be able to drop my hips in and finish the choke. If let's say he's holding my grip, I go for that. He starts to choke, and he might even start bringing that other hand in to defend, yeah? So now it's gonna be hard to finish the guillotine, but look what he's given me, the elbow, okay? So I use my elbow to tighten. Now he can't get that arm in place when I roll back. I trap that arm, and we're back through to our anaconda. So. So just putting this all together, we don't want to let our opponent roll. We don't want to let him get on top or bottom. And we're trying to progressively link our arms to eventually catch the anaconda. So anytime I can, I want to be using my leg here to trap the arm, and we're going to work through a series of progressive grip enhancements to which are each tightening that anaconda grip. But there's a few things that could potentially change the direction we go with our attack. One is he's got this hand all the way on the outside, and I just cannot trap it. So there we're looking to go for the guillotine finish, which may make them bring their hand back in and attack back to the anaconda. If he's fighting this hand really well, that choking hand, he's actually got a good grip on it. We're then aiming to come through nice and deep, keeping that hand behind the head, and come back through for the D'Arce choke. And if he does manage to, like with our guillotine or our with our anaconda, if he does manage to get to his knees, we're then going to be looking to switch back to the guillotine, sit through, go for the finish. If they roll, we're going back to the anaconda again. And they should be just caught in this loop where they can't get out. But preferably keep them here. Don't let them bridge on top at all. So we're going to go through setting up the north-south choke, which can be a good setup for the D'Arce choke as well. We'll see some different options for that. From side control and heading towards front control. This can be a really good lead-in towards our guillotine, anaconda, D'Arce choke sort of game as well. Okay, so my aim here is really if I'm either going for the north-south choke of his arms in like this and going for the finish there, or if I can get his arm out, I'm going to be walking around and trying to go for the D'Arce choke from there. What Tim's going to be trying to do from here is turn in. Okay, so this is going to kill all of those attacks. If Tim can turn in to face me, he's going to get rid of all those attacks. So for this particular series, we're really wanting to keep Tim flat and facing his head away from us. That's going to start to set up a lot of our attacks from here. All right, so we're in side control, and I'm going to be working to get underneath this arm. This is usually what we're trying to do almost regardless of the attack we're doing in side control. So we're going to assume we can actually get under the arm to set up our first attack, which is going to be the D'Arce, which can lead into like a modified arm in north-south or back into our regular guillotine game as well. So let's say Tim's blocking my hip with that arm, like this. Let's go from this side for a second. Tim's blocking my hip. I want to get this elbow above the line of my hips. So it's hard here. He's pushing. It's really difficult to lift this hip. You'll see I've turned my hip sideways. So actually, usually to get underneath that arm, I'm going to walk my hips back into Tim's legs, and I'm walking backwards with my feet facing like this. Okay. Have a look at what happens when Tim's trying to block my hip as as I do that. He's starting to straighten his arm. He's got very little tension there now. Okay, so if you're blocking my hip now, Tim, it's much easier for me here to reach under the elbow and lift. If I'm going here and he's blocking, very difficult to get rid of that. So I start turning his hips away, and it lifts his elbow up, and also means he has to straighten his arm to follow. We're gonna pick the arm up, and as soon as you get the elbow, as soon as the hand's off that hip, we're gonna shoot our hips through until my right hip goes past the line of the elbow. Not the left hip here, because when I turn, he's gonna block again. Yeah? I have to get my right hip past the elbow, and then I'm gonna pull Tim in nice and close. So this is gonna, when I keep his shoulders close, try and get that elbow back, Tim. That's gonna be stuck. And I'm now gonna track. From here, if I let his shoulders shimmy away, he gets that elbow back. So I'm gonna step close with this hip, leg forward, reach under the head and get like a cross-face underhook and pull the shoulders in. So when his shoulders are tight, cannot get that elbow back in front of my hip. So now I've trapped that arm, I can square back up here like this, keeping Tim locked in here. All right, from here, I'm gonna reach over the top with my right arm, and my aim is gonna be the same thing as I was just doing. So I was pulling in with my hands here. My right arm is gonna go really deep, as far as you can, okay, like this. And it's pushing back, Tim back that way. So I'm really focusing at the moment actually on him not getting that left arm back in front of my hip, okay? Because this is really important to be able to set up this DAS. All right, from here, I can start to switch my base forward. And I'm gonna try and step over his head, but you cannot lose the elbow as you do this. So I'm gonna step up like that. Try and free your elbow, Tim. See how that elbow is still stuck above my hip. Yeah, so I'm leaning to my left here, and I'm stepping over. Now, I can drop my hips to the far side, and I'm gonna drag my weight onto his tricep, here like this. So now I've got my weight sprawling back like this. Try and turn flat to the mat, backwards. This is keeping him stuck. And because of the pressure, see this gap between his shoulder and his neck? He's very small right now. So I got short arms, but the DAS is very available. Okay, my hand's poking out. I keep my weight centered through my chest on the arm. Connect right through to the elbow. Grip the back of the head. And then remember, it's a rowing action. So I'm gonna fall my weight, drop my weight a little to the left and row up with my elbow so that's gonna finish the trick. They'll often tell you that it puts a lot of pressure on their shoulder with this one as well, because you're really dragging their arm right across. But guys, don't lose that elbow. Again, Tim's blocking the hip. We're gonna walk back so that there's less tension and I can pull the elbow up. From here, we shoot underneath, like this. Catch the head and pushing that elbow as far through as I can. Okay, let's have a look from the other side. This hand is like reaching as far through as I can right now. But I still want to be stepped up on my right leg to stop his elbow from freeing. Let's go around again. So, I'm keeping the elbow trapped, stepping quite far to here, and then I'm dragging my hips over, keeping pressure on that elbow, trying to turn him. See here, my weight's on this side. Tim can't roll flat to his back, and it's gonna get worse when I start to sprawl my weight back over that shoulder. So he's really turning in. That's probably to release the shoulder pressure a bit, but it's actually dragging him there anyway. My hand's free, DAS choke, and finish. Alright. When you're here, you've got your arm through here, so I got the arm trapped above my hip. I don't want Tim to be able to follow me as I'm trying to like pressure and walk around, but he could just follow me with his hips as I go, okay? So I have to change my left hand to block his hips, yeah? So my left hand's now blocked him from following me. I should be able to make an angle now relative to Tim when I step over. Okay, so don't leave your hand on the far side. when you land here and connect the dust, sometimes your hand will actually be too deep. So you see my forearm is actually really almost on the side or the back of Tim's neck. So you'll see me often do a little adjustment from here, because if I squeeze here, probably going to hurt his neck and he might tap, but I don't think that's going to be choking him. So I want to actually, my grip loosens a little bit just so that I can move my elbow, and I'm trying to pull my elbow so that my forearm lands flush against his neck. So watch this, I turn and I've brought it through, okay? So see there, my hand's gone from here to here. I've dropped my elbow back, now the forearm's in front of the neck. So again, like there, and turn my hips, I've adjusted that. Now Tim will feel that choke immediately. Let's just have a look at that from the other side. Yeah, I'll go all the way around. So, here it's too deep. You can see like my arm's almost in contact with his neck here. When I fall, I'm pulling my elbow through a bit. Okay, so now my elbows come through a bit higher, and that's now my forearm on his neck when I choke and finish. So I managed to get underneath this arm. I've got this hand nice and deep, so as far through as I can with my elbow. Inevitably, you're going to sometimes lose this arm. Hopefully not right now, but as you start to come around. Now, first of all, make sure you're doing it properly, so that's difficult. So I actually want to be like stepping and rolling my hip over the top. I'm not walking like I'm going to north-south. Here, it's really easy for him to swing his arm above his head and start to free the arm like that, okay? So that's gonna be much more difficult if my motion is more like from here. If I step and roll my hips over like that, as opposed to trying to like walk around like that. Much more space for him to get his arm free. But regardless, sometimes they're gonna free that arm. So we're here, like this, we're blocked the hip. I'm going to go over, and then Tim gets that arm above his head. Okay, here, immediately, I have to be thinking north-south choke, because he's actually given me an avenue just to catch his head. The arm's above the head, so we kind of ignore the fact that that's there. So the first thing I have to do is make Tim turn away. If he can turn into me, he's out of this position for good. Okay, so roll into me a bit. No way I get the north-south or any of the chokes now. So my ribs are the thing that's going to turn him away. They're going to catch his head and turn. So we're here. I've gone to step over. Tim's freeing that. He almost has to turn away a little, which gives me a good avenue to do that. Bring your arm a little higher. Yeah, okay. Immediately, my ribs drop to this side of Tim, and then I push the side of my ribs into Tim. So now try and turn to face me. You can't, okay? Often this arm will still be stuck in there when you do this. It doesn't matter. Don't even worry about that arm. We're going to just be able to finish the choke from here anyway. So we connect our hands like so. The arm can be in. We connect our hands as our ribs are pushing sideways, shoulders nice and far forward, and I've got my elbow as deep as possible. Now I don't want him pushing my head up, so I just put my head down to the mat and I start sprawling my shoulders down and back, doing our regular north-south finish, and we get the submission. Sometimes you get the D'Arce choke and everything's like good in terms of your arms, but they managed to get that arm above the head again, so I didn't trap that. Bring that arm high. Yeah, so we started to free that, and I'll lose the choke here because I don't have the pressure to turn him into my forearm. So he's going to be going to his back. So this is another scenario that I look to drop my hip ribs on this side, catch his chin, and I'm starting to look for the north-south. Okay. Tim's sort of half committed to it in this particular scenario, so I might actually try and connect his arm back up and go back to the D'Arce. Fully commit, Tim. yeah, so now he's got his arm out. I've landed in the north-south. I'm able to finish. All right, so when we're trying to lift this elbow, often Tim will be like super defensive and like it's really hard to get that arm at all. Okay, so if he's so tight to his body with that arm that I can't pull it up and start trying to get towards this side of the hip. First of all, make sure you're trying to do that as good as you can. But if they're really tight, you won't get it. But we're actually just gonna switch and just try and go straight for the north-south without having the arm trapped. Okay, so all we want to do then, because his arm's so tight, we want to pin that with our chest. So I just move my chest a little forward and I put pressure driving into that arm to stop him being able to move that arm. Okay, and from here, I just want to, again, I don't want this hand like blocking my entry over the neck for the north-south. So I'm going to try and just like pin this elbow of Tim to his ribs as well. Okay, if I can get my weight over the top of both arms, this is really good. Okay, so I'm really sprawled heavy on the arms here. It's difficult for Tim to really close this gap off because I'm holding this part of his arm blocked. All right, and of course, this is where it's really important that I'm going to try and catch his head before he can turn in. So I'm going to reach around and try and get my elbow deep like this. Try and lift the head up a little bit with this, just to make it a little harder for them to get through. And I'm going to try and get my hip right next to his head. Okay, so try and turn in now, Tim. My ribs now will drop down and turn his head away. Then we can go for our regular north-south choke. Okay, so again, Tim's hiding those arms really well. We're going to jam them. Okay, jam, jam. Let's hold that nice and tight. And I need to have a good avenue to be able to get this arm really deep, like this. If he's following me around, you can start changing this to block the hip. If they're not following you, you can be comfortable staying here. Often we'll have to drop this. Now, so have a look at me closing that gap between, I want to turn his head and like take away this space. This arm's deep as I can. I'm gonna like kind of put my hip there first. Hip and foot. And then I can drop my ribs a bit lower to actually turn. So the first bit's just to, now it's hard for Tim to immediately turn to his side. Ribs drop in front, and then my ribs are now pushing him to the side. I have a good chance at attacking the choke. If you're going for the north-south choke or any of these attacks, and they do manage to turn in, so Tim's turned in towards me, don't keep going for the neck. Okay, this isn't going to work anymore. I have to reset. So go back to like a crossface, flatten him out. Sometimes you'll even from here with a good crossface and you've turned them away, you'll often even try and like lift the hip up and get them really turned away. So now it's a bit harder for Tim to turn. And from here, you can start to set up your arm in, drop your ribs, and catch from here too. Sometimes you go to finish the north-south and they manage to like bridge. Usually, actually, sometimes it's away, you know, like as I enter, you manage to like bridge and turn this way. Yeah, good. And reach this arm over. You're really trying to get over, yeah? Not with my head, because my head's going to stop you, yeah? So you're going to bring, like you're just going to try and
here.
yeah.
Right.
There we go.
I was thinking.
Yeah. When this happens, we're just going to try and follow up with our guillotine. So slip your head behind, catch the head. We've got our arm in guillotine. So we're going to sit down, swing our leg over the top, and finish. Tim doesn't believe me, but sometimes people will push your head up like this, and it's actually because the motion I'm trying to use to finish the north-south is to sort of sag into it. It actually makes it really hard to finish the choke. It could be like this, or it could be the forearm underneath, or anything that's like that. Guys, you don't have to have your hands connected to finish the north-south. So let's move it this way a bit. I'm gonna try and move. So if this is my right hand, the one that's choking, I'm gonna try and move my head to the left. So I let go with my left hand. He can be pushing. I just wanna block and put my head down, out to the side, and we can start finishing from there. So whether, his forearm or his hands or whatever, like, it might be a little annoying. And sometimes you even actually have to pummel in to remove it like that. But now I can get my head down, okay? And you can connect, as I said, you connect your hands with the arm in or the arm out. That's not the important bit because it's my right hand that's going to be doing the choking. So we can just sag in and finish. The most common error I think I see when people are first trying to get the north-south is that they go straight for the chin. So they try to put like their weight on the chin here like this. So here I'm not actually gonna choke. Once you're similar to just about every type of guillotine, like if your setup's bad, trying to adjust after that is really difficult. I want my shoulder here, and then it's gonna slide back onto Tim's neck, yeah? My shoulder's above, like it's not choking at all when I'm reaching my right hand in. Okay? He shouldn't even, ideally they actually don't even feel threatened. Obviously he knows it's coming, so he does, but he shouldn't even be thinking about a choke because I'm not even threatening like the actual choking part of it yet. My shoulder's forward, and it's gonna slide across and down. Yeah, that's what's gonna finish the choke. That was just a one arm one, right? If you go for the neck straight away, you often end up in the chin. So let's say Tim tucks his head a little bit and I try and catch the neck. Never gonna finish this, okay? This is gonna, like, maybe from stopping him breathing, from covering his mouth, but it's not actually gonna be a proper choke. So we wanna put our shoulder low, reach in as deep as we can with our elbow, turn the head, and then we're dropping down into that gap from there. Linking all these, our approach from here, what's going to decide whether we go for the Das or the north-south choke is whether we can get the elbow up or not. So if the elbow's tight, we're looking to go for the north-south and finish. If we can manage to pick this elbow up, we can go for our Das. If he escapes, then we look at escape your arm. We look to get our ribs in front, turn the head, and go for the north-south from there. Obviously, this can link in with our Anaconda series. If they manage to turn in a funky way where you end up with your grip not in the right spot, you got the head and the arm, we can follow our series from there.